Hello everyone. Hi. Back in team. My going. Can you help me please? Uh, and can we do sharing? Don't mind, please. Hello. Yes, perfect. It's fixed now. Can we do the screen sharing after 2 minutes, if you don't mind, please? Thank you so much. All right, everybody, a very warm welcome. Parents, a very warm welcome. I think this is the first time you all are coming for the summer camp, probably with your kids. It would be great if you all can put your videos on. Would love to see you all with the kids. Hi. So, a very funny thing happened. So, I just entered the meeting and I saw very quiet music going on. And every day before the camp, there's a very peppy music going on. Okay, like एकदम ही जैसे आपका डांस करने का मन करे. So I was like, जैसे ही बच्चे आते हैं हम खुद बच्चे बन के म्यूजिक भी वही चलाते हैं. जैसे बैक एंड टीम को पता चला आज पेरेंटिंग सेशन है, म्यूजिक ही चेंज हो गया पूरा. So that was quite funny. All right. If my voice is not clear, don't worry. I am not going to be talking much. I am just here to very briefly introduce and welcome our host for today, Nikhil Gupta sir. I will just add him to the spotlight. Hello, Nikhil sir. A very warm welcome to you. And I will just very quickly give a brief. He has been parenting for more than 500 plus parents across the globe, which is amazing. And we were extremely lucky enough for him to be kind enough to come and join us and, help us out with this session. So without wasting further time, over to you, Nikhil, sir.
Thank you, Kashish ji. Just to check, can you hear me well?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So should we begin or should we wait for a couple of more minutes?
We can wait for a minute or two. If anybody wants to say something, they can. I will just remove my spotlight. Just give me one second. All right. Okay, so we still have a minute to start. So if someone wants to just put in some question. Yes, I love this. The kids already start welcoming the teachers very well. So the kids are saying hi, sir.
Hi, everyone.
Yes.
Seeing kids is always very energetic. This session is going to be about parenting, but yeah, seeing kids बहुत energy लाता है.
Certainly cannot deny it at all. So if anybody, okay, it's 8:30. Perfect. So perfect time to start. You can start it off then.
ठीक है. So Kashish ji, thank you. I think हम लगभग 1 घंटा है हमारे पास and we'll do this session probably in English and Hindi both. So if anything that you cannot catch up in one of these languages, just let us know. We can repeat, but yeah, we'll try our best to kind of repeat in both the languages. So 1 घंटा है और आई एम वेरी श्योर कि आप लोग सब काफ़ी एक्साइटमेंट के साथ इस सेशन में आए होंगे. पेरेंटिंग सबके बहुत ही क्लोज होता है एंड आई एम वेरी श्योर कि आपके पास बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस भी होंगे. So the way we will run this session is कि first probably 30-35 minutes we will try to cover a few things and I think the foremost and the basic thing that we'll cover is what is this conscious parenting. While parenting के questions बहुत सारे हैं लेकिन conscious parenting क्यों? So this is what we will cover in first 30-35 minutes. And that probably might answer a lot of your questions about parenting and the challenges that you might be facing. उसके बाद we will open the floor for the questions and we'll discuss, we'll learn from each other. So parenting is not like one-way street. हम लोग सब एक दूसरे से सीख रहे हैं एंड जितना हम एक दूसरे से शेयर करेंगे, डिस्कस करेंगे, उतना ही हम एक दूसरे से सीखेंगे. So let me just share my screen. Just let me know, Kashish ji, if when you can see.
Yes. It's clear.
It's clear?
Yes.
So as I said, first 30-35 minutes, we'll talk about what is this conscious parenting. While parenting, we all understand and probably are doing it. And I'm assuming this entire group is the parent of either one kid or two kids or maybe more. बट एंड पेरेंटिंग को लेके हमारे मन में बहुत सारे सवाल होंगे, लेकिन कॉन्शियस पेरेंटिंग क्यों? एंड उसके लिए सबसे पहले मैं आपसे बताना चाहूँगा कि हम लोगों ने, एज कशिश जी ने बोला, हजारों पेरेंट्स को कोच किया है। और हर कोचिंग से जो जो इंसाइट्स मिली हैं वो मैं आपसे पहले शेयर करना चाहूँगा। नाउ या इफ यू कैन सी माय स्क्रीन, आई थिंक एक चीज निकल के जरूर आई है कि हमने जितने भी पेरेंट्स को कोच किया है कि हम लोग सब अपने बच्चों के लिए बहुत अच्छा चाहते हैं। बट अच्छा चाहते हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ एजुकेशन, बेस्ट ऑफ द एजुकेशन दैट वी वांट टू गिव। We want to give best of the clothes, we want to give best of the food, we want to give best of the health, best of the exposure in our capacity। जितनी भी हमारी कैपेसिटी है उस कैपेसिटी को देखते हुए सब पेरेंट्स अपने बच्चों को एक अच्छे से अच्छा एक्सपोजर देना चाहते हैं। एंड देन बेस्ट ऑफ द कंफर्ट्स, डेफिनेटली। नाउ देयर इज नो डाउट दैट every parent actually wants to give the best of these things to their children. Now, on top of that, we also found that what many people that we have coached, they think about parenting today. वो लोग पेरेंटिंग को एक ड्यूटी की तरह लेते हैं। एंड इसमें कुछ बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस भी हैं जो मैं आपसे बता रहा हूँ। आप जो भी मैं बता रहा हूँ, ये इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि ये सही है गलत है, बट ये क्वेश्चन है और यह एक इनपुट है जो हमें पेरेंट्स से मिला है कि वो पेरेंटिंग को एक ड्यूटी की तरह लेते हैं, पेरेंटिंग को एक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी की तरह लेते हैं, ओनरशिप भी लेते हैं। ये एक बहुत बड़ा पॉइंट है कि मेनी टाइम्स लार्ज नंबर ऑफ पेरेंट्स दैट वी हैव कोच्ड, वी फाउंड दैट they think that since children have come to this world through them, there is a little bit of feeling of ownership, and that ownership is what it is causing as part of the parenting journey we'll discuss in a while. But yeah, ownership की feeling है कि parenting is all about ownership of the child. Physical support, definitely. I think human child is the only child who needs physical support to grow up, which every parent kind of understand well. मैं हम लोग जब वेट कर रहे थे शुरू के 10 मिनट, तो आई वाज चेकिंग द नेम्स एंड I found largely, I think it is mothers who have joined this session. So is it more for mothers? While I have no doubt that many fathers today want to take parenting very seriously, but how much time, how much efforts they are able to put towards it, I think that is to be seen. And, that is what has come across in all our coaching sessions. And probably if we see the participant list right now, largely we'll find that very few fathers are able to join. Expectations. Parenting, many parents think as expectations. I have expectation from my child. I have expectations from my parenting journey. I have expectations from myself as a parent. So largely these are the things that we think or we have found while coaching parents that they think is parenting for them. Now, when these things are probably across the board that we have met, another thing that we find is that most of the parents are facing a lot of challenges. While parenting would have been a very blissful journey, I think it is the most blissful journey one can take in the lifetime. Whether we talk about our own career, whether we talk about various other relationships, whether we talk about whether are other journeys like spiritual, health, etc., etc. But I think parenting is one of those journeys which definitely can be and it should be the most blissful journey. But across the board, when we coach parents, we find that they are facing huge number of challenges. And challenges are across the board. Definitely the first one is future. Every parent mostly is worried about the future of their child. Somehow they think that the way they see the future, or they would like to see the future of the child, they want to make everything certain. And that manifests in their thought process, in their behavior with the child, their connection with the child, and their bonding with the child. So this is across the board that they are having a lot of questions or challenges in their mind about future. Now, one question that across the board parents से आता है is I want to do the best for my child and give the best exposure to him or her possible for me under the sun. Now, this, while the intent here is very, very noble, very, very right and good for the child, but it puts a lot of burden on the parenting journey, on the parent as well as on the child. Now, without understanding what the child is and what you as a parent are, if you start giving the exposure to the child for everything possible, it is going to create a very, very confusing scenario for the child, and it is going to create a very confusing scenario for yourself. End result might be like, you are exposing the child to probably 20 things, and you will find that child is becoming more and more averse to accepting things because he or she was bombarded with various things which he or she was never interested in. So are we taking the first step first to understand the child and understand ourselves and the connect between the child and ourselves before we really try to do this best as a parent is very, very important. And we'll take more examples when we go into conditioning and biases. But this is one thing which I wanted to highlight from this slide. The next is expectations. What we have seen that comparison is very, very prevalent. And unfortunately, it is not, again, by choice. It is just the way we have been brought up. We all have been brought up by comparison. And in fact, when we do a detailed workshop about parenting, comparison is a big topic that, how and, where it really impacts us and then how to deal with it, now since we are grown up with the comparison. But yeah, I was talking to one of the parents, and I'll give you this example. The parent was saying that, no, I generally try to avoid comparing my children. So he had two children, one son and one daughter. And then during the course of the conversation, I asked him, there were various things, we were discussing. And then he said, yeah, generally, let's say simple things like finishing milk. Now, I think we all invariably do it that we tell either our son or daughter that just finish it fast, otherwise your sister or brother will come first. Now, while there is no intent to compare maybe, but ultimately what we do, we end up comparing. And we start giving that feeling to the child that finishing milk is not just because of my health, because it helps my health, but it is a competition where I need to come first, otherwise my sister or my brother will come first. And then that manifests into various other examples or various other activities in the life of the child, which actually causes a lot of challenges for ourselves as a parent and as well as for the children. Now, another one is, as I said earlier, every parent wants to give the best. Now, many parents, now they're good in technology. And since they're good in technology, they think that giving technology to the child is the best thing that they can do. Now, child might or might not be very, very friendly with technology, but still we end up giving actually the technology to the child, and child again starts getting confused that, what I'm going to do with it. And probably the purpose that we are offering or giving the technology to the child, it changes to something else because the child is confused and doesn't know how to use the technology rightly. And the way the child starts using technology becomes a very, very destructive than the constructive mean that it would have been. And then we say, I think that largely every parent will agree that, we say our child is into gadgets, completely into social media or, mobile. Now, largely, we have to see our lifestyle, and this is another big topic. I cannot cover. I mean, each one of these we take as a topic and we cover as part of the workshop. But yeah, I'm just touching upon them so that, we relate to these problems. We relate to some of the underlying causes behind these problems. कि नीचे इनके पीछे जो जहाँ से ये प्रॉब्लम बन के आ रही हैं, वो रीजन क्या है, और उनको थोड़ा समझने की कोशिश करें. And definitely, when we do detailed workshops, we can discuss them in detail. But yeah, this is very important, that gadgets, behind gadgets, the lifestyle that we are in, and the lifestyle we are giving to the children, we are the reason behind it. And then definitely, it becomes a problem for us, for the child. Then another challenge that we keep hearing is that my child is getting influenced. He doesn't listen to me, or he or she doesn't listen to me. I mean, I think every parent will say, "मेरा बच्चा मेरी बात नहीं सुनता." Now, I think there's a fundamental question here, that child, while they come through you and they see you as the first human around them, they have a lot of respect for you, which is across. We have done the coaching for parents across the world, as Kashish ji said, and everywhere in across the globe, child, they respect their parents. But फिर भी ऐसा क्यों होता है कि at some point in time parents start saying कि मेरा बच्चा मेरी बात नहीं सुनता? And invariably what we found is that बच्चा इसलिए नहीं सुनता क्योंकि बच्चे को ये समझ में आने लगता है कि is my parent, और मेरा पेरेंट, मेरे माता पिता मेरे को कुछ अप्रूवर की तरह बोलना चाहते हैं, या मेरे से कुछ डिस्कस करना चाहते हैं. एंड ये एक ओवरनाइट नहीं होता, ये एक्चुअली इट हैपेंस ओवर years, when we become the approver of everything in our child's life, and child starts seeing that whether parent is really capable of approving things that they want to approve. And that is where the conflict comes. Now, I'll give you one example. There was a mother who said that I never tell my daughter to study. Now, which might be true, but she, in front of her child, will ask many of her friends, how many hours you study, beta? How many? Now, you may not say the things directly to your child, but in front of the child, if you're asking others, or if you're discussing with others that how many hours the other child is studying, it directly influences your child. And whether you say that I'm saying something directly or not doesn't matter, because they respect you, and they respect everything that you're asking in front of them to anyone, whether your friend or your friend's kids or your kids' friends. Everything actually matters to them. So now you see how children start getting those messages which otherwise you might be thinking that I'm not giving to my kids, and they start becoming averse that oh, वो 6 घंटे पढ़ता है, मेरी मदर की एक्सपेक्टेशन जरूर ये भी होगी कि मैं भी 6 घंटे पढ़ूं, लेकिन मैं 6 घंटे नहीं पढ़ना चाहता. Now, rather than discussing कि why 6 hours is important or not important, whether child really needs to study for 6 hours, the message is gone very indirectly to the child that 6 घंटा पढ़ना जरूरी है और मेरी मदर को 6 घंटा पढ़ना अच्छा लगता है. एंड उसके बारे में कोई डिस्कशन नहीं हुआ, एंड दैट चाइल्ड स्टार्ट्स बिकमिंग एवर्स टू लिसनिंग about this conversation more and more from her mother or anyone else. Now, many of these things happen in life, but unfortunately we don't see the reason or behind them, and we just continue with that behavior for long, and child becomes more and more alienated. दूसरा है righteousness. हम अपने बच्चों को सबको अच्छा सिखाना चाहते हैं, but at the same time we want them to be street smart. Now, बहुत सारे माँ बाप से जब हम कोचिंग करते हैं तो दे से दैट स्कूल में फाइट हुई बच्चे की, एंड बच्चा की पिटाई हो गई. नाउ इट हर्ट्स द ईगो ऑफ द पेरेंट्स, एंड दे से कि मैंने उसको बोला कि तुम पिट के नहीं आओगे. नाउ दिस बिकम्स वेरी difficult conversation. Definitely no parent would want their child to be hit by another child. But at the same time, for the child to understand that what is the balance between righteousness and street smartness, and why the child can understand the action and reaction in those situations, is more important than child बच्चा पीट के आया है या पिट के आया है. And that becomes the conversation for many, we have seen for parents. Similarly, बच्चों का influence, कैसे उनके ऊपर दूसरे बच्चों की फाउल लैंग्वेजेस या उनका पहनावा, उनकी सोच इम्पैक्ट करती है। हम बड़े कंसर्न होते हैं कि ये मेरा बच्चा, इससे बहुत गलत इन्फ्लुएंस हो रहा है इस बच्चे से। नाउ rather than telling the child that इसके साथ नहीं बैठो या इसकी बात नहीं सुनो, which actually becomes preachy because then child doesn't know whether you're saying the right thing. Again, it goes back to the same point that आप अप्रूवर बनेंगे तो बच्चे को पता नहीं है कि आप सही बोल रहे हैं कि नहीं बोल रहे हैं। लेकिन अगर आप बच्चे के साथ समझने की कोशिश करेंगे और उसको उसके साथ अपने आप को भी दिखाएंगे कि मैं भी समझ ही रहा हूं, मैं भी ऐसा नहीं है कि सब कुछ जानता हूं, मैं भी आपके साथ वो चीज समझ रहा हूं जो जो यहाँ पे हो रही है, कि कोई बच्चा फाउल लैंग्वेज बोल रहा है आपके सामने और आप उसको इम्बाइब कर रहे हो, ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? फाउल लैंग्वेज क्यों अच्छी लगती है, एकदम अट्रैक्ट करती है? फाउल लैंग्वेज में क्या प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है? अगर हम क्या मैंने अपनी जिंदगी में फाउल लैंग्वेज नहीं बोली? वल्नरेबिलिटी एज ए पेरेंट, डू आई शो माई सेल्फ वल्नरेबल टू द चाइल्ड एंड डू आई शो दैट मैंने भी मिस्टेक्स किए हैं और मैं कैसे सीखा? लेकिन जरूरी नहीं है आप भी वैसे ही सीखो। तो अगर आप इस तरीके से कॉन्वर्सेशन करोगे तो चाइल्ड समझेगा कि हाँ, मुझे ये देखना है कि ये फाउल लैंग्वेज मेरे लिए कुछ गलत कर रही है कि नहीं कर रही है। लेकिन अगर आप प्रीच करोगे या अप्रूवर बनोगे तो चाइल्ड विल स्टार्ट रिएक्टिंग टू इट एंड से दैट आप तो ऐसे ही बोल रहे हो, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, वो इतना इंप्रेसिव है, वो जब लैंग्वेज ऐसे बोलता है तो सबको हंसी आती है, सब अच्छा लगता है उसको। देन ही विल रिएक्ट, ही और शी विल रिएक्ट, and that is where the challenge comes in our parenting journey. The next one is you know safety of kids. We all want our kids to be safe, but at the same time, where and how things can go wrong, how we decide is based on our own experiences in the past. And that may not be necessarily the truth because our experience could be very different from the other parent. Now, in the same situation, one parent may say that, yeah, it is safe for my child to do, but the other parent may say, no, it might not be safe. Now, how you, rather than imposing your views, you actually make the child feel that, how we can ensure together that, you are safe. But definitely, I am not saying that this is the only way to be safe. And exploring is the way to go and decide on many of these topics like late night outings, or nowadays kids go for pajama party. This comes invariably from many parents that मेरा बच्चा ओवरनाइट पार्टी पे जाना चाहता है अपने फ्रेंड्स की, बट आई डोंट नो वेदर ही इज सेफ देयर और नॉट, शी इज सेफ देयर और नॉट। आई डोंट नो क्या वहाँ पे क्या बिहेवियर होगा। एंड ये बहुत सारे कंसर्न्स जो हैं वो पेरेंट्स के आते रहते हैं। एंड rather than discussing the child, we immediately either take a decision and say no or yes, and the child starts becoming more and more rebel, and that starts creating that disconnect between you and your child, and then all these parenting challenges starts coming in. Another one which I'll take is academics, which I'm sure is everybody's favorite. As I'm going to cover probably in a while, that most of us have created based on our conditioning certain views about everything, and we think that is right. Now, same happens in academics. We think that my child should be good in something, but maybe he is or she is good in something else. Now, that is something that we are not ready to accept because in our terms, that might not be good. Now, that creates another conflict between you and your child, and that the journey becomes very, very challenging. So I've taken few examples here. Definitely, there are many more. But what these challenges are leaving us lost, confused, unsure, unclear, disoriented, and that causes a lot of challenges for us in our parenting journey. The same parenting journey which would have been blissful, very enjoying, building a very lifelong connect between us and our child, becomes a very, very fragile connect. The thread is very, very weak. In many cases, what we have found that by the teenage or the adult age, the children start talking much lesser than they were talking earlier to their parents, and the disconnect becomes more and more grave, and that causes a lot of pain in this journey for the parent, for the child, and the bonding between parent and child. Now, there are a lot of questions on this slide, and I'm not going to cover all these questions. As I said, when we do the detailed workshop, we discuss many of these questions in detail. But idea of this slide is basically that rather than discussing that, should I give the gadget to my child or not? What should I do of my kid's demand of going for overnight party? I think the questions that should be discussed are these: that, how do I build the connect with my child? How do I build that relationship which is based on innocence, which is based on exploration together, which is based on understanding each other? And there are many of these questions here, as I said, which can be discussed in detail. But yeah, these are the questions. If we ask, we become a conscious parent, and that is the whole point of becoming conscious parent, so that our parenting journey becomes much more robust than actually what it is today. Now, coming to, as I said, I'm not picking up all these questions, but I'll just pick up a couple of them for the next 10 minutes, and then we'll open for questions and answers. So the first one, which is the underlying challenge that all of us probably are facing, is our own conditioning and biases, and how we understand them and not pass them to our children. If this particular aspect we can take care, many of our parenting problems can be solved. And the kind of bond that we create with our child becomes much more stronger. Now, let us see what these biases and conditionings are. First of all, I'm sure first question that might be coming to most of your mind, आप सभी के दिमाग में आ रहा होगा कि biases मेरे पास हैं. Do I have biases? And if I have, तो वो क्या biases हैं, क्या conditioning है? Address तो मैं तभी करूंगी या करूंगा अगर मुझे ये पता होगा कि मेरी क्या biases हैं. And that is where conscious parenting, as I said, comes into play. कि सबसे पहले पेरेंटिंग के लिए, पेरेंटिंग एक अच्छी पेरेंटिंग के लिए सबसे पहले अपने आप को जानना जरूरी है कि मैं क्या क्या मेरी बाइसेस हैं, क्या मैं चाहता हूं, मैं क्या नहीं चाहता हूं, क्या मैं सोचता हूं कि सच है लेकिन वो क्या सच है. एंड लेट्स सी सम एग्जांपल्स. ये एक कार्टून है जिसमें ये है कि पेरेंट्स बोल रहे हैं बच्चे को कि तुम्हें उस लड़की के साथ दोस्त बनना चाहिए जो फर्स्ट आती है हमेशा. अब क्या ये बायस है? क्या ये बहुत सारे पेरेंट्स करते हैं इनवेरेबली, अननोइंगली. वो सोचते हैं कि हमारी बच्ची अगर एक टॉपर के साथ दोस्त बनेगी तो उसकी भी पढ़ाई अच्छी होगी. लेकिन क्या ये फैक्ट है, सच? क्या हमने फैक्ट के थ्रू ये परसेप्शन बनाया है, और या क्या ये हमारी सोच है कि एक टॉपर बच्ची के साथ ही मेरी बच्ची का फ्यूचर अच्छा हो सकता है? तो इसी तरीके से बहुत सारी बाइसेस हम लोग कैरी करते हैं. टेक्निकली आप वरी मत करिए, लेफ्ट साइड में इनके नाम हैं. टेक्निकल नाम जरूरी नहीं है कि उनका नाम क्या है. क्या ये ज़्यादा जरूरी है कि वो बाइसेस क्या क्या होती हैं, कि जिन लोगों को मैं जानता हूँ या मैं समझता हूँ, जिनके बैकग्राउंड को मैं समझता हूँ, वही सही लोग हैं फ्रेंड बनाने के लिए मेरे बच्चों के लिए या मेरे लिए. या टैटूज बनाना गलत बात है, या जजिंग पीपल बेस्ड ऑन देयर बैकग्राउंड्स इज द राइट थिंग. कम्युनिकेशन के बेस पे लोगों को जज करना कि उनका एक्सेंट क्या है, और उनके एक्सेंट के बेस पे ये जज करना कि ये बच्चा या ये बच्चे के माँ बाप सही हैं या गलत हैं, ये एक बायस हो सकती है. फिर किसी ने कुछ गलती की तो उसके बेस पे अपना व्यू बना लेना कि ये बंदा या ये बंदी तो ऐसी ही है, या उसका बिहेवियर, उसके पास बिहेवियर के बेस पे उसको प्रिडिक्ट करना कि पास्ट में उसने ऐसे किया था तो आगे भी ऐसे ही करेगा, या पास्ट में उसकी परफॉर्मेंस अच्छी नहीं थी तो आगे भी ऐसी ही होगी. कंपैरिजन, जो मैंने बोला कि बहुत बड़ा एक चैलेंज है हमारी लाइफ में, कि हमारी सक्सेस दूसरों की सक्सेस के बेस पे डिसाइड करना कि उस सक्सेस का डेफिनेशन ये है क्योंकि मैंने ये देखा है अपने दोस्तों में, अपने रिश्तेदारों में और मेरे फ्रेंड्स में. इस तरीके से ही जॉब, एक सक्सेसफुल करियर क्या होना चाहिए, एक सक्सेसफुल जॉब क्या होनी चाहिए, एक सक्सेसफुल रिलेशनशिप क्या होनी चाहिए, ये सब बेस्ड ऑन जो मैंने देखा है अपने सर्कल में, वो ही सही है, तरीका है. ये एक बायस हो सकती है. Sending our child to the coaching institutes, I think we all do it because all our friends are sending their kids to coaching institute. So क्या ये एक बायस है, और ये क्या ये सच है कि कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट में जाना बच्चे को जरूरी है? और वो भी 6ठी क्लास में या 9वीं क्लास में या 11वीं क्लास में। तो इस तरीके से हमारे पास बहुत सारी बायसेस हैं। अब इन बायसेस को समझना और इन बायसेस को समझते हुए ये देखना कि जब भी हम अपने बच्चों के साथ कॉन्वर्सेशन कर रहे हैं या उनकी प्रॉब्लम से डिस्कस कर रहे हैं या उनकी बातों से उनको उनको अप्रूव कर रहे हैं या डिसअप्रूव कर रहे हैं, तो क्या ये बायसेस हमारे बैकग्राउंड में प्ले कर रही हैं? ये बहुत जरूरी है। अब दूसरा कंपैरिजन, जो मैं बता रहा था कि ये ना ये एक अनदर टॉपिक है जो कि बहुत प्रिवलेंट है हमारी लाइफ में। हम सब लोग किसी ना किसी से अपने आप को, अपने बच्चों को कंपेयर करते हैं, और सिर्फ किसी और से नहीं बट अपने टाइम से भी कंपेयर करते हैं कि कल मैं ऐसा था तो परसों मैं ऐसा हो जाऊंगा, या आज से 10 साल बाद ये मैं बेटर बन जाऊंगा। और ये हमें सिखाया भी जाता है कि हम बेटर बने और कंपेयर करते रहें। तो ये अनफॉर्चुनेटली एक एक ऐसा प्रिवलेंट एक प्रैक्टिस है कि हम लोग उसी के साथ बड़े हुए हैं और उसी तरीके से हम दुनिया को देखते हैं कि जो अगर किसी बच्चा कोई अच्छा करता है तो वो कंपेयर करते हुए हम देखें अपनी परफॉर्मेंस को या अपने बच्चे की परफॉर्मेंस को कि या हमारा बच्चा अच्छी परफॉर्मेंस कर रहा है कि नहीं कर रहा है। नाउ सम एग्जांपल्स, मैंने आपको पहले बताया कि मिल्क जल्दी पी लो, नहीं तो तुम्हारी सिस्टर या तुम ब्रदर फर्स्ट आ जाएगा। वी एंड अप सेइंग दैट यू शुड लर्न फ्रॉम योर कजन, व्हाई कांट यू बी मोर लाइक हिम और हर, you have to be best in what you do, your mark should this time should be better than last time, your dance is not as good as your brother. So there are a lot of comments that we make, and as I said, many times we may not make these comments directly, but we make these comments in front of the child either indirectly or through someone else. And child is listening. Every child is very, very intelligent and very, very sharp, and they'll notice, they listen everything that you're saying. Now, why do we compare? As I said, we have been trained, we have been brought up that way. We always, every action that we make is based on the comparison or the benchmarking with someone else. And that is how we have been brought up. And that is that is why it has become so ingrained in us. But what is it doing? I think that is what we need to understand. The biggest thing it is doing is that it is limiting our potential and our child's potential. When we decide the success or the action of our child or ourselves based on the comparison, we have already boxed ourselves thinking that this is the best either my child can do or I can do. And that has boxed our thinking, that has limited our potential. We have no way to think beyond that and freely and creatively. The second thing is that it puts so much pressure on child and ourselves that all the time we are just struggling to catch up with that benchmark that we have decided based on this comparison, rather than enjoying the process. Uh, uh, no comparison has ever brought joy to anyone, any parent or any child, but unfortunately, still we end up doing it. We continue to do this thinking that if we achieve that success based on the benchmark that we have decided based on the comparison, then we'll be very happy, but it never happens, unfortunately. The goalposts keep moving. आपने एक decide किया based on comparison, उसके बाद दूसरा comparison मिल जाएगा, उसके बाद तीसरा comparison मिल जाएगा, and it continues. So these comparisons never stop, and then you are never satisfied. And then finally, comparison creates divide. When you actually create a comparison with someone, you are actually dividing yourself with someone else, and that creates a lot of conflict, because when you compare, you envy, you have jealousy. There are many other negative emotions that come to your mind. While there's nothing wrong with those negative emotions, but rather than understanding those negative emotions, you actually start using them to achieve that benchmark, that success, and that creates more conflicts in life. Our relationship actually becomes very, very difficult. So this is another thing which I wanted to cover, as part of this session. Now, I think I have done or covered most of the things for today's session that I thought I'll cover. But Kashishi, anything that you would want me to cover, let me know. Otherwise, we can take questions and try to answer and some of these questions in the given possible time.
Sure, Nikhil sir, I think we should start taking some questions because I already see a few parents wanting to ask. I have two questions right here. One is asking, what should be our approach when the child is getting hit by another child in the school? How should we teach them to respond in such situations?
Yeah, no, I think it's a very good question. And as I mentioned earlier, that when a child is facing the bullying in the school, now definitely the first reaction as a parent is not to have the child beaten and respond very aggressively, which probably helps boost our ego as well, unfortunately. But before all those thoughts come to us, I think there are two or three things that we need to do. One is that have we spoken with a child and understood that what is the emotion that that child is going through while being bullied? Does he understand what is the meaning of bully? Why the bullying happens in the world? Why the other child who is bullying him or her is doing so? That the moment child you start having a conversation with the child and help him her understand that why bullying happens in the world, and the child will understand that many times the bullying happens because that child who is bullying has a lot of emotional vacuum in his life or her life, and that in fact is the cause of sympathy, then hating him, that the child is going around and bullying. In fact, you will see, it's a fact, it's a scientific fact. You can do some Google around it and read more about it. Most of the children who are bullying and hyperactive, they actually are hyperactive because of emotional vacuum in their life. Their personal life, their family life is very challenging. And that is why, to draw that attention, they become more and more active, hyperactive, and they start doing these activities which kind of starts negatively impact other children. And the child, your child who's being bullied, first has to understand this, that what is the reason behind, or what could be the reason behind this behavior from other child. Now, if you do this, 50% of the problem will be solved, because the child will become more emotionally balanced. He or she will understand that why it has happened, how it has happened, and he will have probably more empathy, compassion for the another child, rather than hate that otherwise you would have developed in that process, saying that go and now beat him back. Second is, definitely, if the child is getting beaten again and again, definitely you have to go to the administrative authorities and deal with it, because you can't get your child beaten again and again. To deal with that repetition of that activity, if it is happening again and again, it has to be dealt that way. But more than that, in this process, you and your child should understand that why people behave, because those people will be there anywhere and everywhere in the world. It's not just about school. Bullying will happen in some form or other in some part of their life, every time, every phase of life. And more you understand this behavior, more it will be easier for you to deal with it, rather than actually dealing with it in a very aggressive manner and without understanding that why other person is actually behaving that way. So I hope that answers the question, Kashiji.
Yes, absolutely. I think this is such a good thing to focus on. Uh, this is also valid for adults for that matter. I think that if some particular person is acting, in a negative manner or is overreacting to things, it's definitely something to do with their condition on a personal level. And that's what's just, jarring up and coming out in front of others. Um, yeah. So the next question says that how to understand teenage kids, why they overreact for everything.
Yeah. So again, I have covered this partially, but yeah, I'll try to probably use this question to cover it a little bit more in detail. See, there is nothing wrong with teenage. In fact, teenage is a as good age of a child as any other phase or age. But yeah, unfortunately, teenage has become a very negative age to go through, where every parent think that during teenage, children become very rebellious, they become very reactive, and so forth. Now, let's take a step back before we understand the reason behind this, and to understand the reason behind this behavior. See, when the child is small, let's say many of you are the parent of a child of 5 years old, or 3 years old. Now, 3 years old child or 5 years old child is like a clay, uh, very soft. Anything that you try to imbibe easily is absorbed by the child, and child listens to you most of the time, etc., etc. Now, what happens between, let's say, the age of 5 and by the time the child goes to the teenage, which is 13? Uh, so between this 8 years or 7 years, something happens which actually causes the same child who is so soft, so nice, so like a clay, becomes so rebellious, so reactive, and sometimes very naughty. I mean, very difficult to handle with. Now, what we have observed is that in those 8 years, the child starts seeing the conflicts in parents and the world around. It is not just the parent, but the world around. And they start seeing that what they are being told by their parents, their teachers, their friends, their relatives, the ecosystem around them is something they're not practicing themselves. There is a lot of conflict between what they are saying and what they are doing. And they start seeing this dichotomy, the conflict, the gap, that the world is not what they seem to be and what they are trying to tell us. When they say something is good but they do something else, when they say something is bad and they do it more, and they start seeing it. Now, all these 8 years of exposure of this dichotomy, the conflict, causes this confusion in the child that there is something wrong. Either what I'm being told by these people around me, including my parents, is not right, or I am just being the guinea pig and being told whatever comes to their mind, and they just keep telling me. Now, that is what caused this reaction during the teenage, because teenage is the age when the child starts becoming physically strong. Child can open his or her mouth. Child can verbally argue with you, and that is the age it starts manifesting all those dichotomy and the conflicts. They start manifesting in the behavior of the child. So it is nothing but the age. It is just that the now child is ready to react and say, you are saying something else, you are doing something else. This doesn't work for me. You are just trying to be approver without knowing what you're approving me for or what you're approving my act for. And that is what the teenage, that is where the teenage becomes so difficult to manage. The reality is that it is not the teenage, it is the process reaching that teenage and how the child has started seeing it.
Interesting. So, I think this answered your question to Varshiji. Divya is asking how to know what the child is thinking about or what emotions are going on in the kid's mind.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting question again. So I'll first ask the ma'am who has asked this question कि आप अपने इमोशन समझ सकते हैं मैम, या अपने स्पाउस और siblings, parents, आप उनके इमोशन समझ सकते हैं before you really get into the mind of the child? Understanding emotion is a very, very, very detailed process, and it's a very effortsome process. And before आप बच्चे के दिमाग में जाके उसके इमोशन समझने की कोशिश करते हैं, उससे पहले पहले अपने इमोशन समझने की कोशिश करिए. अगर आप अपने इमोशन समझने लगेंगे तो आप ऑलरेडी एक फेज पे आ जाएंगे, एक लेवल पे आ जाएंगे जहाँ पे आप बच्चे से कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं कि हाँ, ये देयर इज ए वेवलेंथ between me and my child, where I have started understanding emotions. And I would not say I have understood my emotions, but I've started understanding my emotions. And now let me connect with my child to understand his emotions or her emotions. So the first step to answer your question is to understand first your own emotions. It is not an easy process. Let me tell you, we all, I think, really take our emotions for granted. But if we, every moment, even in this moment, if we start observing ourselves and start becoming aware of our emotions, we'll realize that how easy life has become. Understanding emotion is the first step towards making our own life easy. And then once we have started doing it, child will start seeing that this father or mother, this person who is acting as my father or my mother, he is genuine. He or she is genuine and understands what is going on in his mind. अगर jealousy आ रही है तो jealousy आ रही है, and he says that yeah, I'm jealous right now. अगर anger आ रहा है तो anger आ रहा है. जब बच्चा ये देखने लगेगा कि आप अपने इमोशंस को लेके ऑथेंटिक हैं, ऑनेस्ट हैं, तो आपके सामने बच्चे के इमोशंस भी एक्सपोज होने शुरू हो जाएंगे, क्योंकि बच्चा खुलना शुरू हो जाएगा. बच्चे के दिमाग में आप घुसने की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ेगी, बच्चा आपसे ओपन हो जाएगा और आपको समझ में आने लगेगा कि हाँ, ये बच्चा इस समय गुस्से में है, ये बच्चा इस समय शाई फील कर रहा है, ये बच्चा इस समय डर फील कर रहा है. तो ये इमोशंस बहुत ही विजिबल होने लगेंगे, लेकिन जर्नी स्टार्ट्स विद यू. पहले आप अपने इमोशंस को समझने की कोशिश करिए. एक बार आप करेंगे तो बच्चे के साथ ऑटोमेटिकली शुरू हो जाए.
Awesome. The next question is, hi, my daughter can't make friends easily and she's very scared to make new friends. What should I have to understand that she makes more friends and stays happy with all?
Yeah. No, thank you for asking this question. So this question can be discussed, and as I said, the right answer you have to find, and it's not a one night process. You have to actually give a lot of time to get to the final answer to this question, or many of these questions like this. But yeah, let me try to let me attempt to answer this question in following steps. One, accept the way child is. If you think that being extrovert is good, and only by making a lot of friends your child can be happy, that is again could be your own bias and your conditioning. So first, आप पहले अपने आप को देखिए कि क्या ये आपकी बायस है कि बच्चे को फ्रेंड्स बनाना बहुत जरूरी है, बहुत सारे फ्रेंड्स होने चाहिए, हर समय फ्रेंड से घिरा रहना चाहिए, या उसके पास इतने फ्रेंड होने चाहिए, 4 होने चाहिए, 1 होने चाहिए. ये क्या आपकी बायस है? ये बहुत जरूरी है. दूसरी बात यह है कि बच्चे को आपने कितना समझने की कोशिश की है कि उसको फ्रेंड्स की कितनी जरूरत है, और अगर उसको फ्रेंड्स की जरूरत है तो वो फ्रेंड्स क्यों नहीं बना पा रहा है, और अगर उसको फ्रेंड्स की जरूरत नहीं है तो फ्रेंड्स की जरूरत क्यों नहीं है. तो rather than, एज आई सेड अर्लियर, कि सीधा सीधा आप अपनी बात को कि फ्रेंड्स बनाना बहुत जरूरी है और आप वो बात लेके बच्चे के पास चले जाएं कि नहीं तेरे पास मुझे बहुत चिंता है कि तेरे कोई दोस्त नहीं है, दोस्त बनने चाहिए. rather than taking this question to the child, आपको ये समझना है कि पहली बात तो कि मैं ये बायस कंडीशनिंग तो नहीं है मेरे दिमाग में. दूसरी बात कि बच्चा किस तरह का है, बच्चे को दोस्तों की जरूरत है कि नहीं है. और ये आपको प्रोसेस में जाने के लिए टाइम लगाना पड़ेगा, बच्चे के साथ बैठना पड़ेगा, उसको समझना पड़ेगा कि उसको खाली रहना अच्छा लगता है, उसको अपने आप से टाइम बिताना अच्छा लगता है, उसको दूसरों के साथ टाइम बिताना अच्छा लगता है कि नहीं लगता है. अगर लगता है तो क्यों अच्छा लगता है, कौन सी बातें दूसरों की अच्छी लगती हैं, और अगर अच्छी लगती हैं और फिर भी उसके बाद वो दोस्त नहीं बना पा रहा है तो क्या होता है उस दोस्त बनाने के प्रोसेस में, कि कोई दूसरा बच्चा अच्छा लगा लेकिन दोस्त नहीं बन पाया, तो कहाँ वो प्रोसेस ब्रेक डाउन होता है. ये सब प्रोसेस में टाइम लगता है. ऐसे नहीं है कि आपने अभी 4 क्वेश्चन लिए और जाके बच्चे से बात किया और बच्चे की प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर दी. उस बच्चे को समझ, पहले अपने आप को समझना, और ये कॉन्शियस पेरेंटिंग में बार बार कहता रहूंगा कि पहले आप अपने आप को समझिए और उसके बाद बच्चे को समझिए. आपकी सारी प्रॉब्लम दूर हो जाएगी. आपको समझ में आ जाएगा कि ये बच्चा उस फ्रेंड्स बनाने के लिए है, ये बच्चे की नेचर में फ्रेंड्स बनाना है या नहीं है, और नहीं बनाना है तो क्यों नहीं बना पा रहा, कहाँ पे वो प्रोसेस ब्रेक डाउन होता है. ये आप अपने आप समझने लगेंगे और आपको समझ में आ जाएगा कि इसका सोल्यूशन क्या निकल सकता है. तो यही एक तरीका है, पहले आप अपनी बायस को समझिए और उसके बाद फिर बच्चे के साथ उस पर काम करिए कि वो कहाँ, उसकी नेचर क्या है और उसको कहाँ पे वो प्रोसेस ब्रेक डाउन.
Really nice. One more question is, how to accept gender dysphoria and sexual identity disorder as a parent? What should be our role as a parent?
So, see, technically, I'm not qualified to answer this question because some of these could be the the challenges around, in medical fraternity. So I would leave this question largely to medical fraternity to deal with. But yeah, if it is not because of medical reasons, and it is more because of the psychological reasons, then definitely it is to understand, go deeper. So I'll give you one example. There was a parent of 16 years old girl, who came to me and said, can you coach my daughter? I said, I don't coach children, I coach only parents. But she said, no, I really need your help, because my daughter is losing confidence, and she's not able to deal with many of the challenges which the kids of her age are able to, including sexual orientation, the challenges around the opposite gender, etc., etc. So there were many challenges that she shared with me, and she said, you have to work with my daughter, please. I said, no, I don't think the problem, and I don't think there is any problem with any child in the world. Unfortunately, the problem is the people around the child, and we child being the most easy target. We all kind of start giving help to the child, while the help should be given to the people around the child. So then we got into the discussion, and that is where I came to know that the girl father was a very, very strong-headed human being. Now the father will travel, 5 days a week, 2 days weekend, will come home, will ask few things, and will say with very confidence, no, this is what you should do. This is what you should not study. This is what you should not wear. This is what you should not do. This is what you should not meet. And this is how he would preach both his children, the daughter as well as the son. And now those 2 days of very, very strong opinions being imposed on the child is causing the complete loss of confidence and the entire orientation towards many of these challenges. Now you see, the problem is not with the child. The problem is manifesting from somewhere else. And that is causing so much problem in the child, that child is not even able to talk to opposite gender with confidence. So you have to understand where the problem is coming from, if it is for the psychological reason. But if it is for the medical reasons, then definitely I'll leave this question to the medical fraternity.
Thank you so much. Another question is, how should be parenting with teenage boys? Some tips to develop a good relationship and bonding with teenage boys.
I think this question we have covered. So I think maybe if we can take another one, because dealing with teenage let me again repeat, because I think this question is there in many people's mind. Just be and open completely in front of your teenage child. Be what you are, show your vulnerability, show your child that you are as vulnerable as your child. Again, I'll give you one example. Okay, let me answer this question now. So I happen to meet a parent, and it's a very interesting story, and I'm very sure all of you will relate to it, and especially the person who is asking this question. So there was a parent who I was talking to, and he said that nowadays my teenage daughter, she doesn't talk to me and my wife. She comes from college, high school, and she straight away goes to her room without talking to me and my wife. And we just, get her the food in her room. And throughout the day, after she comes back from the school or college, she doesn't talk to us. She's locked in her room doing whatever she wants to do. And there is no communication between us and the child. Now, when I probed further and tried to dig into it and understand that, what is happening. Now, the same thing, that last 8, 9, 10 years of preaching, being approver to every action of the child, has created so much of a rift and the distance between the child and the parents. Now, all those things cannot be undone in one day. So if you ask me this question, that how to kind of create the connect with the teenage boy, and I give you 5 tips, and tomorrow morning your relationship with your teenage boy is great. No, it's not going to happen, because the child has seen you for last many, many years. So first, you have to build that connect. And the first step of undoing things, which many of those things that would have been done over the last many years is to first just say nothing and sit with your child. Now, child will see that how his parent or her parent, without saying anything, spending and sitting with him or her and spending time. Many times, not talking is the best thing. Just spend time not talking. When there is no communication, when the child is rebel, when the child is not receptive to your ideas. So just spend time not talking, not having conversation, and just be with the child for some time. When the child starts opening up, then again, don't start preaching, don't start approving. Just talk and ask questions to the child for all those things that you have done in last 8 9 years. Just don't get into them and start understanding your child from afresh. Child should see that his father or his mother eh, probably are a different man or different human being, and how they are ready to listen without being judgmental, that my child is like this, is the another next step about your teenage, opening up towards your teenage boy. The third is that how you talk to that child for over weeks and months, not just one day. It will not happen in one day. Whatever has happened over years cannot be undone in one night, as I said earlier. So over weeks, over months, how you are actually, building that connect with the child when the child starts opening up is very important. And in this process, you will have to also know yourself, as I said earlier, because आपकी बायसेस आपके ऊपर प्ले करेंगी, आपकी कंडीशनिंग आपके ऊपर प्ले करेंगी. कई बार आप फिर से बोलोगे, नहीं नहीं ये ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, ऐसी होना चाहिए, मैंने तो पहली बार मना किया था ना, ये गलत होगा और ये हुआ ना, अब तुमने मेरी बात नहीं सुनी, अब तुम भुगतो. तो ये सब जो कमेंट हम बोलते हैं अपने बच्चों को, ये एलियनेट करते हैं हमारे बच्चों को हमसे, बिकॉज वो बच्चे देखते हैं कि ये हम फिर से बोलेंगे, फिर से अप्रूवर बनेंगे, फिर से मेरे को बताएंगे कि क्या सही है क्या गलत है, एंड दिस कंटिन्यूज. So again, to answer your question, teenage boy or teenage girl, if things have not gone that well for last 10 years, then you have to go through a process to rebuild that connect, know yourself, know your child, and then build that connect.
Wow. My son is 8 years old and abuses and hits me. He doesn't listen to me even when I give mild or severe timeout or punishments. Should I put him in hostel? Will it help him discipline, or will he again be his original self after coming out of hostel?
Yeah, see, hostel or no hostel may not be the solution. I mean, in hostel as a punishment, in fact, may go negative. And I'm not against the hostel, but hostel as a punishment definitely goes a long way in the mind of the child. Now, I think you have to just understand the environment around your child. And many times, in these cases, I've seen that it is not just the parent who is responsible to give that environment. It is also the community that you are living in. It is also the neighborhood. It is also the friend circle. It is also the, the extended community that you're living in. Now, where those words, those abusing language is being picked up, how it is coming to him, that's something if you can avoid, that is definitely one step. But the second step is, again, as I said earlier, that for the child, how you help child understand what does it mean to say a foul language, how does it hurt others, or how does it hurt him or her, uh, how it goes long way. Maybe you have to help yourself with the examples, and see that how those examples can be presented to the child without being preachy. Again, as I said, anything that you are being preachy in front of child will not listen, because child is liking that language and maybe somehow influenced by those languages, very finds them very impressive. So you may not be able to preach and say don't do this because of this, but you'll have to actually get the examples in front of him, maybe in your friend circle, that somebody who used to use foul language, how what that speaking foul languages has hurt his or her relationship in his life. And that example that person can bring to the child, just as sharing the story, not as preaching something, not telling the child that you should not do this, but sharing their story. So sharing a lot of stories that what has not worked because of these foul languages and how it really has harmed the people relationship is something that you can bring. The second thing is also, you have to also make the child feel that foul languages, how it is impacting his own personality, the child's personality. And that again, there are various techniques. I mean, definitely I can't take them in this sessions, but yeah, there are various techniques. But storytelling is one of the best technique. But there are many other techniques which can be used. Some of them you can Google actually and find out.
We just take a few more questions. I think 3, 4 more questions. Uh, Someone is asking that how do we talk about menstrual cycles with a 10-year-old kid if he's asking a lot of questions regarding that?
I mean, it is very simple. Just talk. This is again where I would say our own biases come into play. That talking about menstrual cycle is actually something wrong or something bad. No, I mean, it is natural process. Anything, whether it is about menstrual cycle, whether it is about sexual orientation of the child, these are natural process, and more you talk about them naturally, the child will take them very, very easily and naturally. But more you talk to them about these things as something which is gray, which is not to be talked about, which is unnatural, the child will start developing certain emotions around them, which will stay throughout the life. So this is the time to actually be very natural, talk very openly. Nowadays, there's so much content available online about menstrual cycle, and talking about it very, very freely and openly is the best thing to do. So everything, any natural process in life should be dealt with naturally and talked about naturally.
All right. I am not able to trace that question again, but what I understood was that someone was saying that kids are talking about that, is education as important because they have some friends who are not as educated, but they are rich. So something like that was the question. So if someone has to deal with that, how do they deal? Like, how do they make them understand that even if they have gold medals, they feel that how are they like more, you know, at a better place? Like, it's for them, what I understood out of that question was that they are really not bothered about the gold medals that they are receiving and what the education is really doing to them, because their friend who is not as educated or smart enough, but is in a richer family, so has an upper power to them.
Now, this question, Kashiji, I can spend like hour discussing. This is so close to my heart. So I think there are many fundamental issues with this question. First is what is how do we define a good life or a successful life? And I think in this question, the successful life is a rich life. So somebody who's rich is successful. Now, whether educated or not educated doesn't matter. Now, that is a most underlying and fundamental assumption in this question, that to have a happy, successful life, you have to be rich. Now, I'm not saying that being rich is bad or good. That's a different discussion, and money has a role to play in life. But doing the education just to be rich or not rich, or finding the correlation between being educated and rich is the fundamental issue that we are causing in our life and our child's life. And because this first 16, 20 years of our child life, whether we like it or not, is going to be part of the academic journey. And if this conflict is there, that whether education is good to become rich or not, I think it's really going to be a very, very difficult life, and both for the child as well as you as a parent. Now, education is not ROI. A lot of people I nowadays take it as a return on investment. Education, the purpose of education is not that. The purpose of education is actually about two things, and I think this I would like to share really, really, very, if I can use the word emphatically, One, there's a lot of knowledge the civilization in last 5,000 years, 10,000 years has gathered. Now, there's no point of actually me saying that this is a glass and, not learning it through the information or the knowledge gathered by the 5,000 years of civilization. And then again learning that this can be called glass. Now, that will be very stupid waste of my life and my time to kind of find that this can be called glass, while this can be learned from the bookish knowledge or the knowledge gathered by the civilization. So that is the first purpose of education. And the second purpose of education is to know yourself, which is the most profound cause or the reason behind education. And you don't get educated to become rich or not rich. Rich or not rich, you will become either way or in any way. There are many ways to become rich. There are many books you can read how to become rich and how not to become rich. But education is not that. Education is actually to know yourself. And if you know yourself well, then you will put your efforts, your entire journey in the direction that will be very productive and happy for you. And probably that will lead to a very rich life. But it is not a direct proportion, and it is not how you take this journey. Education has a very, very profound reason behind it.
Awesome. There are a lot, many more questions. Do you want to take one or two more, or we can, we are anyways thinking of having a short workshop on this, so we can, have the other discussions left for that time then.
Sure. I mean, I think we can do maybe one more, and otherwise we can take many of these questions as part of the workshop as you're suggesting. So we will go with that.
Sure, certainly. So I can see a lot, many questions. People want to know about their 5 to 6-year-old children, how to connect with them, and many other questions. They're like 9-year-old is initially she listens and non-stubborn, but now she shows less empathy and more egoistic behavior. So what I see is, as they're growing up, they're of course having their own, like basically they start making decisions on their own, and they feel that they are smart enough and they don't need their parents to guide them through it. I mean, I was one such kid that time, so I am basically speaking that out.
No, it is a very, very interesting comment, and I think that let's take that as a last question for the day. I see this question again has a fundamental disconnect. In terms of what we think about ourselves and what we think about our children. So there is a relative of mine, and she thinks that she keeps telling her children, I am your mother and I know more than you. Now, this is a very profound statement that I keep hearing from the parents, that just because you're mother of a child, you know more than the child. I don't think that gives you the right to say that you know more than the child. So kids, and as you are, the kids are as intelligent as you are. In fact, everybody on this planet has a true innocence and true intelligence. Unfortunately, the problem is that this intelligence and this pure innocence actually gets layered and killed over time. Now, as we grow, it becomes more and more layered. And as a parent, we start thinking we are very smart, and we are completely layered. Though we also have that intelligence within us, it's just a matter of removing those layers and seeing that intelligence. But unfortunately, we can't see, because it is so ingrained in us that we become very, very strong in our views, and we say we are smarter than our children. Now, and then we go with that view to our children and say, hey, you are not that smart, you can't take your decisions. Now that will create rift for sure, because whether a 9 years old child or a 14 years old child, the child is another human being like you. Child is not, as I said, it is not about the ownership of the child. Just because the child has come through you in this world, you don't own the child. The child is the individual and child is as smart, as intelligent as you are. You may have more book-based knowledge because you have been more number of years on this planet, but definitely you're not having more intelligence than the child. The intelligence is same as you have the intelligence, your child has the intelligence. So now, if you just try to impose your knowledge, the child is going to react. So the best is to be open up, understand, deal, and treat your child as equals, and you will see the change in behavior.
Awesome. That was really, really enlightening. I would also like to, just share this one small thing about my mom. She's never done conscious parenting, I'm sure, because there was no such facility at that point. But there was something about her, so she had let me take my decisions from the time I remember even 4 years old. She used to tell me that you never used to wear even outfits which I would give you. You would be sure that what you have to wear, and you wouldn't be letting me take the choice on that. And she let me do that. And that was a very big thing. I genuinely thank her for that. So her way of telling me things was very smart. She used to tell me, this is what is, I think is right, but it's your call. I mean, if you want to do it, do it. I mean, and I used to end up doing sometimes things which she said not to do. And I burned my hand, and then I realized, oh, what mama was saying was right. So she had a very friendly approach towards it. And that's one thing I till date tell her, that because of that, I think even till date, I don't hide anything from her. Of course, I won't lie. I didn't hide anything from her when I was a kid. I did, but eventually I used to go ahead and tell her. And so for my dad, it was very easy for him to say that, oh, whatever you want to do, ask your mom. I am okay with anything. Like, basically trying to say that he's not imposing anything on me again. So like you've said in the entire conversation that we've had today is, trying to understand your child, but before that, knowing your own self, because technically we try to see our image in the child, and things that we have missed out on, probably we try to put it in our child, and we want the best for them, of course. So we feel that should come out from them, what we missed out probably. And yeah, I think it was an amazing chat with you, Nikhil ji. There's one question that's constantly coming up, that is what to do when a child is crying, how to make a child, what to do when child is crying, how to make him or her stop crying.
Interesting. I mean, maybe child is having stomach pain, so take him to the doctor. All I can say is that. But yeah, I don't know what is the age group we are talking about here. But yeah, if it is young child, better to take to the doctor or use some dadi maa ka nuskha. There are a lot of nuskha that we learn from Hebelt community, so use them. And try to use to take care of the challenge the child might be facing. But if the child is grown up and is crying, then definitely it is a very, very serious issue. Then you have to spend time with the child to really get deeper into why the child is crying, because it could be a mental health issue, and it may need expert help to kind of really get the immediate medical interventions.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. It was extremely, extremely a good discussion that we had. Everyone's sending messages like amazing, sir, and lovely discussion and stuff. So yes, we will take this forward, and we will keep you all updated on the next steps that we are deciding with Nikhil, sir. And thank you so much for joining us once again, Nikhil, sir. Thank you so much for doing this at such short notes for us. It was an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure is mine as well, and I really enjoyed this interaction, and I hope there were a few takeaways for everyone, and look forward interacting with you all again. So thank you, and good night.
Likewise. Thank you so much. Good night, everyone. Bye, little friends. See you all for the camp again tomorrow, and the yoga session too. All right.